For years, I believed I had everything. My company was growing faster than I had ever imagined. Olivia was one of the most respected attorneys in the city. And Daniel was more than a friend. He was the brother I had chosen for myself. That night, I stood in a crowded ballroom holding a glass of champagne while everyone celebrated Olivia's latest court victory. To Olivia Carter, one of her colleagues shouted, "The woman who just crushed the biggest case of the year." Applause exploded across the room. I smiled proudly and raised my glass. "That's my wife." Olivia laughed and wrapped an arm around me. "Careful," she teased. "You're making me sound important." "You are important." She kissed my cheek. "Thank you for always supporting me." Daniel suddenly appeared beside us. "Look at these two," he said. "The perfect power couple." I laughed. "Jealous?" "A little." Olivia smiled. "Don't worry, Daniel. Someday you'll find someone willing to tolerate you." "Tolerate me?" he asked dramatically. "I'm a gift." We all laughed. At that moment, everything felt normal. Perfect even. But later that night, while Olivia spoke with several attorneys, I noticed something strange. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen. A smile flashed across her face. Then she quickly locked the phone and slipped it into her purse. When our eyes met, she looked away. The moment lasted only seconds. Still, something about it bothered me. I immediately hated myself for noticing. When the celebration ended, we drove home together. "Did you have fun?" Olivia asked. "Of course." "You seemed quiet." "I was just tired." She nodded. Her phone buzzed again. This time she turned the screen away from me before reading it. I frowned. "Everything okay?" "Work stuff." "At 11 o'clock?" She shrugged. "Lawyers never stop working." I forced a smile. "Fair enough." The next week, little things kept happening. Nothing serious. Nothing I could prove, but enough to make me uncomfortable. One afternoon, I stopped by Olivia's office to surprise her with lunch. Her assistant smiled nervously when she saw me. "Is Olivia busy?" "She's in a meeting." "With who?" The assistant hesitated. Then Daniel walked out of Olivia's office. "Hey," he said. "What are you doing here?" I blinked. "You were in there?" "Just helping Olivia with something." I looked toward the office. "Business advice?" "Something like that." He laughed. "So suspicious." "I'm not suspicious." "Good." He slapped my shoulder. "Because that would hurt my feelings." I laughed with him, but the feeling in my stomach stayed. A few days later, I met Grace for coffee. Grace had known me for years. She was blunt, honest, and rarely wrong. "You look stressed," she said. "I'm fine." "You're a terrible liar." I sighed. "It's probably nothing." "What is?" I told her about Olivia's secretive behavior. The phone, the meetings, Daniel constantly showing up. Grace listened carefully. When I finished, she stirred her coffee. "Something feels off." I immediately shook my head. "No." "Why not?" "Because Olivia loves me." "Maybe." "And Daniel would never betray me." Grace gave me a long look. "People surprise you." "Not them." "You sound very sure." "I am." She leaned forward. "Just be careful." I laughed. "Now you're making me paranoid." "I'm serious." "I trust them." Grace sighed. "I hope you're right." So did I. Over the following days, I tried to ignore my concerns. Whenever doubts appeared, I pushed them away. Then one evening, I finally confronted Olivia. She was sitting on the couch scrolling through her phone. "Can I ask you something?" She looked up. "Sure." "Have I done something wrong?" Her eyebrows lifted. "What?" "You seem distant lately." "I'm busy." "I know." "Then why are we having this conversation?" I hesitated. "Because I miss you." Her expression softened slightly. "You're overthinking." "Maybe." She stood and kissed me quickly. "I love you." "I love you too." "Then trust me." I nodded. But as she walked away, her phone buzzed again. She smiled at the screen. The same smile. The one that never seemed meant for me. The following Friday, Daniel came to visit. We sat in my office discussing business. "You're distracted," he said. "I'm fine." There it is again. "What?" "That look." I stared at him. "What look?" "The jealous husband look." My stomach tightened. He laughed. "Relax." "I'm relaxed." "Good." He leaned back. "Because Olivia is way out of your league, but she's clearly obsessed with you." I forced a smile. "You're an idiot. That's why you love me." Those words hit differently than they should have. That night, Olivia went out to dinner with colleagues. I stayed home reviewing contracts. One of my clients needed documents stored on Olivia's laptop. Mine had crashed earlier that week. I knew she wouldn't mind. At least, I thought she wouldn't. I opened her laptop and searched through several folders. Nothing. Then a message notification appeared in the corner. Daniel. My chest tightened. I shouldn't look. I knew that. But something stopped me. My hand moved before my brain could. I clicked. The conversation opened instantly. At first, I didn't understand what I was seeing. Then my blood turned cold. Daniel, I miss you already. Olivia, we were together 3 hours ago. Daniel, that's too long. Olivia, stop. You're making me smile. Daniel, good. I love making you smile. I stared at the screen, unable to breathe, unable to move. Then I kept reading. Daniel, does he suspect anything? Olivia, no. Daniel, you're sure? Olivia, he trusts us completely. Daniel, sometimes I feel guilty. Olivia, don't. Daniel, we can't keep hiding forever. Olivia, soon. Daniel, I love you. Olivia, I love you too. My vision blurred. My hands started shaking. But the worst message came next. Daniel, last night was incredible. Olivia, best night of my life. The room spun around me. I felt sick. There were hundreds of messages. Photos. Plans. Lies. Months of lies. Maybe longer. Every memory I trusted suddenly felt poisoned. Every laugh. Every dinner. Every celebration. Everything. I wasn't reading messages anymore. I was watching my life collapse. Then I heard it. The sound of a car pulling into the driveway. Olivia. Coming home. I stared at the screen while my heart hammered against my ribs. The evidence remained glowing in front of me. The truth. The betrayal. The destruction of everything I believed. For the first time in my life, I realized the two people I trusted most might have already destroyed everything. The moment Olivia walked through the front door, I was still staring at the messages. My hands trembled. My entire life felt unreal. Hey, Olivia called from the hallway. You're still awake? I didn't answer. A few seconds later, she stepped into the office. The smile on her face disappeared instantly. What are you doing? I slowly turned the laptop toward her. The messages filled the screen. For the first time all night, I saw fear in her eyes. Explain this. Silence. Then she crossed her arms. You went through my laptop? I stared at her. That's your response? You invaded my privacy. I laughed bitterly. My privacy? You had no right. No right. I shouted. You've been sleeping with Daniel. She flinched. Then her expression hardened. It's not that simple. Then explain it. Olivia looked away. Our marriage hasn't been working for years. The words hit harder than any punch. What? You heard me. So this is my fault. I didn't say that. You just did. She sighed dramatically. You're overreacting. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Overreacting? It happened because we grew apart. I stared at the woman I loved. The woman I thought I knew. How long? She remained silent. How long? Several months. My knees nearly gave out. Several months. Several months of lies. Several months of pretending. Several months of making me look like a fool. Then another voice came from the doorway. Maybe we should calm down. Daniel. I turned toward him. The sight of him made my stomach turn. You have some nerve showing up here. He stepped inside. Listen to me. No. It wasn't supposed to happen. I laughed. It wasn't supposed to happen. We didn't plan it. You betrayed me. Daniel rubbed his face. You're acting like we murdered someone. The room went silent. Even Olivia looked uncomfortable. I stared at him in disbelief. Get out. Let's talk. Get out. You're emotional right now. I moved toward him. Get out of my house. For a moment, I thought he might refuse. Then he nodded. Fine. He looked at Olivia. We'll talk later. The moment he left, something inside me broke. I looked at Olivia. I don't even recognize you anymore. She didn't answer. Neither of us slept that night. The following weeks were the worst of my life. Every morning, I woke up hoping it had been a nightmare. Every morning, reality returned. Some days I wanted revenge. Some days I wanted to disappear completely. I stopped attending social events. I barely focused on work. Food tasted like nothing. Sleep became impossible. One afternoon, Robert Hayes invited me to lunch. The moment he saw me, he frowned. You look terrible. I feel worse. Robert had been my mentor for years. If anyone could speak honestly to me, it was him. I told him everything. The affair, the lies, the confrontation. When I finished, he sat quietly. Then he said something unexpected. Good. I blinked. Good. You found out before it was too late. I shook my head. Nothing about this is good. Maybe not. He leaned forward. But what happens next matters. I want to destroy them. I know. I want them to suffer. I know. I stared at my coffee. What should I do? Robert's voice became firm. Nothing emotional. What? Anger makes people stupid. I sighed. They deserve it. Maybe. He pointed at me. But truth is stronger than emotion. I frowned. What does that mean? It means stop guessing. He sat back. Find facts. A week later, I followed his advice. That's how I met Michael Reed. The private investigator looked ordinary. Middle-aged. Calm. Professional. He listened carefully as I explained everything. When I finished, he nodded. You believe there's more? Yes. Why? I thought about it. Because something doesn't feel right. Michael opened a notebook. Then let's find out. The investigation started slowly. For days, there was nothing. Then small details appeared. Phone records, hidden meetings, financial transactions. The deeper Michael looked, the more questions emerged. One afternoon, he called me unexpectedly. I found something. My stomach tightened. What? You should come see me. An hour later, I sat across from him. Michael slid several photographs across the desk. I looked down. Daniel. Olivia. A third man I didn't recognize. What am I looking at? Business meetings. So, Michael folded his hands. The problem is where those meetings occurred. I looked closer. Then my eyes widened. The location belonged to a competitor. My competitor. That doesn't make sense. Exactly. The next few days became even stranger. Every answer created 3 new questions. Then Sarah Bennett accidentally helped me. Sarah worked in Olivia's legal office. She called me one afternoon. Can I ask you something? Sure. I think someone gave me the wrong file. My pulse quickened. What kind of file? Corporate documents. I tried to sound casual. Why is that important? Sarah hesitated. Because your company name is on them. My heart started racing. What documents? I honestly don't understand most of it. Can you send copies? A long pause followed. Then she whispered, I probably shouldn't. Sarah, I know. Another pause. Something feels wrong. A few minutes later, the files arrived. I immediately forwarded them to Michael. The next morning he called. His voice sounded different. Serious. Concerned. You need to see this. I drove to his office immediately. The moment I entered, he closed the door. What did you find? Michael spread documents across the desk. There are fraudulent contracts. I stared at him. What? Someone has been moving money through shell companies. I felt cold. Boo. He pointed at several signatures. Daniel's name appeared repeatedly. Then he pointed somewhere else. Olivia's legal authorization. My hands tightened into fists. They were working together. Yes. Against me? Michael nodded. I couldn't breathe. The affair had been devastating. This was worse. Much worse. They weren't just betraying my marriage. They were targeting my business, my reputation, everything I'd spent years building. For the next 2 weeks, Michael continued digging. Every discovery revealed another lie. Hidden accounts, forged approvals, secret communications. Evidence piled higher every day. Then finally, one rainy afternoon, Michael called. I have everything. I immediately drove to his office. When I arrived, a thick folder sat on his desk. Michael pushed it toward me. Open it. My hands felt strangely calm. I opened the folder. Photographs, bank records, emails, contracts, witness statements, timeline reports. Every page added another piece of the puzzle. Every page strengthened the case. Every page proved the truth. By the time I reached the end, my heart was pounding. Not for grief, not for shock, from certainty. I slowly closed the folder. Michael watched me carefully. Well, I looked down at the evidence one final time. The affair, the fraud, the conspiracy, the lies. Everything was there. Every detail, every betrayal, every crime. For months, they had believed they were untouchable. Now I possess enough proof to expose both of them publicly. And for the first time since my world collapsed, I finally understood one thing. Their downfall had already begun. For weeks, I carried the evidence everywhere. The folder sat on my desk, in my car, beside my bed. Every page reminded me of what Olivia and Daniel had done. Every page gave me a choice. I could destroy them publicly. I could leak everything. I could humiliate them the same way they had humiliated me. Some nights, that temptation felt impossible to resist. But every time anger took over, I remembered Robert's words. Truth is stronger than emotion. Eventually, I made my decision. I would not seek revenge. I would seek justice. The next morning, I met with my legal team. One attorney looked through the evidence and shook his head. This is overwhelming. I know. You understand what happens if we file. I nodded. It becomes public. Yes. Your marriage will be examined. I know. He closed the folder. Then let's begin. Within days, lawsuits are filed. Fraud, conspiracy, financial misconduct, breach of fiduciary duty. The news spread quickly. Soon everyone was talking about it. Business partners, investors, employees, friends, strangers. The story exploded across the city. And eventually, the case arrived where it belonged. Court. The morning of the hearing, I stood outside the courthouse staring at the entrance. My stomach twisted. This wasn't just a legal battle. This was the funeral of the life I used to have. My attorney approached. You ready? No. He smiled slightly. Good answer. We entered together. The courtroom was already crowded. Reporters filled multiple rows. Business executives whispered to one another. Spectators watched with curiosity. Then I saw Olivia. She sat confidently beside her legal team. Perfect suit, perfect posture, perfect smile, as if nothing had happened, as if she still believed she could win. A few seats away sat Daniel. He looked relaxed, arrogant, completely unconcerned. The sight of both of them made my chest tighten. Then a voice echoed through the room. All rise. Everyone stood. Judge Rebecca Wilson entered. Rebecca Wilson took her seat and looked across the courtroom. You may be seated. The room settled. Judge Wilson adjusted her glasses. We are here regarding allegations of fraud, conspiracy, and financial misconduct. Her eyes moved toward Olivia and Daniel. Are all parties prepared to proceed? Yes, Your Honor, multiple attorneys answered. The trial began. At first, Olivia seemed completely comfortable. She spoke calmly, confidently. Every answer sounded polished. Every statement sounded rehearsed. I watched her and remembered why she had become such a successful attorney. She knew exactly how to control a room. For a moment, I almost doubted myself. Then the witnesses started testifying. The first major witness was Sarah Bennett. Sarah Bennett walked to the stand. She looked nervous. Judge Wilson spoke gently. Please state your name. Sarah Bennett. The questioning began. Did you encounter documents connected to this case? Yes. What happened? Sarah swallowed. I accidentally received files that didn't belong to me. What did you do? I reviewed them briefly. And she glanced toward Olivia, then back toward the attorney. They looked suspicious. Olivia's attorney immediately stood. Objection. Overruled, Judge Wilson said. Sarah continued. The contracts didn't match normal procedures. Why not? Several approvals appeared manipulated. Whispers spread across the courtroom. I saw Olivia shift slightly in her chair. For the first time, she looked uncomfortable. Then came the next witness, Jason Cole. Jason Cole carried several binders to the stand. My attorney smiled. Mr. Cole, what is your profession? I analyze corporate financial records. Were you asked to examine transactions connected to this case? Yes. What did you discover? Jason opened one binder. The courtroom became silent. I found hidden financial transfers. Daniel suddenly sat forward. His confidence vanished slightly. Jason continued. Money moved through multiple shell companies. Was this accidental? No. Why not? Because the transactions were structured intentionally. Another wave of whispers moved through the room. The pressure was growing, and we were only getting started. The next witness changed everything. Michael Reed entered the courtroom. Michael Reed looked exactly as calm as the day I hired him. After taking the oath, he began explaining the investigation. What was your role? I gathered evidence. What kind of evidence? financial records, communications, surveillance reports. He opened a large file. Would you recognize these documents? Yes. What are they? Evidence connecting both defendants to coordinated misconduct. Olivia's attorney objected repeatedly. Each time, the documents remained. Each time, more evidence entered the record. Emails appeared on screens. Contracts appeared. Meeting records appeared. Photographs appeared. One after another. One after another. One after another. The truth became impossible to ignore. I looked toward Daniel. His arrogance was gone. Sweat covered his forehead. His hands shook. Then something unexpected happened. During cross-examination, Olivia finally took the stand. She walked confidently to the witness chair. But confidence only works when facts support you. And facts no longer supported her. Questions came quickly. Did you authorize these documents? Not knowingly. Did you communicate with Daniel regarding these transactions? Sometimes. Sometimes. Yes. The attorney displayed an email. Is this your message? Olivia hesitated. Yes. Another document appeared. What about this one? Silence. The attorney repeated the question. What about this one? Olivia's voice weakened. Yes. I stared in disbelief. This wasn't the woman who had dominated courtrooms for years. This was someone struggling to survive. The questioning intensified. Each answer created another problem. Each explanation contradicted an earlier statement. Then finally, Olivia lost her composure. This isn't fair. The courtroom became quiet. The attorney spoke calmly. What's not fair? You keep taking things out of context. What context would help? Olivia opened her mouth. Nothing came out. For the first time, panic appeared in her eyes. Then Daniel did something nobody expected. He betrayed her. Completely. His attorney stood. My client wishes to clarify certain facts. The room exploded with whispers. Olivia turned toward him. What are you doing? Daniel wouldn't look at her. His attorney continued. My client acted under legal guidance. Olivia's eyes widened. What? The attorney pointed toward her. He relied upon advice provided by Mrs. Carter. The room went silent. Then Olivia stood abruptly. That's a lie. Judge Wilson hit the gavel. Order. Olivia pointed at Daniel. He initiated everything. Daniel finally snapped. Because you said it was legal. You wanted the money. You wanted it too. You promised nobody would find out. The courtroom erupted. Judge Wilson struck the gavel repeatedly. Order. Neither of them looked untouchable anymore. They looked terrified, desperate, broken. The alliance that had betrayed me was collapsing in real time. And everyone was watching, including the media. By afternoon, reporters filled every available seat. One journalist seemed especially focused. Emily Turner typed continuously throughout the proceedings. Every major revelation appeared in news updates within minutes. Phones buzzed across the courtroom. Public attention exploded. Social media discussions multiplied. Business forums discussed the scandal. Investors reacted. Former colleagues reacted. The entire city seemed to be watching. By the end of the day, Olivia and Daniel looked exhausted. Gone were the confident smiles. Gone was the arrogance. Only fear remained. Judge Wilson reviewed several documents before speaking. The room instantly became silent. She looked at both legal teams, then at the witnesses, then at the evidence. Finally, she folded her hands. I have reviewed the testimony and documentation presented today. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Every person in the courtroom waited. Every breath felt heavy. Judge Wilson looked across the room one final time. I am now prepared to announce a major ruling. The courtroom fell completely silent as everyone waited for the decision that could change everything. The courtroom remained silent. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Judge Wilson looked down at her notes one final time. Then she raised her eyes. The court has reached a decision. My heart pounded. Across the room, Olivia sat frozen. Daniel stared at the floor. Judge Wilson continued. After reviewing all evidence, testimony, financial records, and documented communications, this court finds both defendants liable. A wave of whispers spread through the courtroom. Olivia closed her eyes. Daniel cursed under his breath. Judge Wilson raised her voice. Order. The room quieted. She looked directly at them. The evidence demonstrates a deliberate pattern of fraud, conspiracy, and financial misconduct. Neither of them responded. For the first time since this nightmare began, they had nothing left to say. Judge Wilson continued. Financial penalties will be imposed. Daniel's attorney stood. Your Honor. Sit down. The attorney immediately obeyed. Judge Wilson turned another page. Additional professional disciplinary recommendations will be forwarded to the appropriate licensing authorities. Olivia's face lost all color. That sentence hit her harder than any financial penalty. Her career, the thing she valued above everything, the thing she sacrificed her marriage to protect, the thing she betrayed me for. It was slipping away, slowly, publicly, permanently. The judge finished her ruling. The gavel struck. This matter is concluded. Just like that, it was over. Months of lies, months of investigations, months of pain, finished. Reporters rushed from the courtroom. Attorneys gathered documents. People whispered everywhere. I remained seated, trying to process everything. Grace eventually touched my shoulder. You okay? I looked at her. I think so. You won. I stared toward the empty witness stand. It doesn't feel like winning. She nodded. I understand. And she did. Because justice and happiness are not always the same thing. The following months changed everything. News coverage continued for weeks. Every new article revealed another piece of the scandal. Every new revelation damaged Olivia and Daniel further. The consequences never arrived all at once. They arrived slowly, relentlessly, one loss after another. One afternoon, Noah joined me for lunch. Did you hear about Daniel? I looked up. What now? Jason left. I nodded. That didn't surprise me. After everything that happened, nobody wanted to remain associated with Daniel. Noah shook his head. Half his leadership team resigned. Really, it gets worse. I waited. Several investors pulled out. I said nothing. Noah sighed. He built his reputation for years and destroyed it himself. Noah nodded. Exactly. A few weeks later, I learned something else. Linda had publicly distanced herself from her brother. She released a statement condemning his actions. When Grace told me, she sounded shocked. I never thought she'd do that. Neither did I. She was always loyal to him. I looked out the window. People become loyal to the truth eventually. Meanwhile, Olivia's situation continued getting worse. Former colleagues stopped defending her. Professional organizations opened investigations. Friends disappeared. People who once praised her success suddenly avoided her calls. One evening, Grace showed me an article. Have you seen this? I read the headline. More consequences. More fallout. More damage. Grace watched my expression. Do you feel sorry for her? I thought carefully. Then I answered honestly. Sometimes. Grace looked surprised. Really, I loved her. The words still hurt. Even now, months later, part of me would always remember the woman I thought she was. The woman who never truly existed. One rainy afternoon, everything changed again. I was leaving my office when I heard a familiar voice. Can we talk? I stopped walking. Slowly, I turned around. Olivia stood behind me. For a moment, I barely recognized her. The confidence was gone. The elegance was gone. The certainty was gone. She looked tired, broken, human. I remained silent. Please. I hesitated, then nodded. A few minutes later, we sat across from each other in a quiet cafe. Neither of us spoke immediately. Finally, Olivia broke the silence. I owe you an apology. I said nothing. Tears formed in her eyes. I should have said that a long time ago. I stared at my coffee. Why now? Because I finally understand. I looked at her. Understand what? She laughed bitterly. How badly I destroyed everything. The pain in her voice sounded genuine. For the first time in a very long time, she wasn't acting like a lawyer. She was simply a person facing the consequences of her choices. I was obsessed with success, she said. I know. I convinced myself it justified everything. I remained quiet. She wiped her eyes. I kept chasing bigger victories. At what cost? Her voice cracked. You. The table fell silent. Olivia looked down. You were the best thing in my life. My chest tightened. She continued. and I threw it away. I wanted to be angry. I wanted to hate her. But mostly I felt sad. Sad for both of us. Sad for everything that could have been. Olivia took a shaky breath. If I could go back, I would change everything. I nodded slowly. I believe you. Her eyes widened slightly. You do? Yes. For a brief moment, hope appeared on her face. Then she asked the question I knew was coming. Can we start over? The words hung between us. Heavy. Dangerous. Part of me wanted to say yes. Part of me remembered our happiest memories. Part of me remembered the life we planned together. For several seconds, I genuinely considered it. Then another memory appeared. The messages, the lies, the betrayal, the courtroom, the truth. I looked at her gently. I forgive you. Tears rolled down her face. But before she could speak, I continued. I can't come back. Her expression shattered. I understand. Forgiveness isn't the same as reconciliation. She lowered her head. I know, and somehow I think she finally did. We sat quietly for a few more minutes. Then I stood. Olivia looked up. This is goodbye, isn't it? I nodded. Yes. She wiped her eyes again. I hope you're happy. I thought about the question carefully. Then I smiled. For the first time in a long time, I think I will be. I walked away. And this time, I never looked back. Several months later, I found myself standing outside the courthouse again. The same building, the same steps, the same entrance. Yet everything felt different. Noah stood beside me. Grace stood on my other side. You seem peaceful, Noah said. I smiled. I am. Grace crossed her arms. So what did you learn from all this? I looked at the courthouse. For a moment, memories flooded back. The betrayal, the heartbreak, the anger, the trial, the truth. Then I answered. I learned that real victory isn't watching someone fall. Noah nodded. What is it then? I took a deep breath, refusing to fall with them. Neither spoke. They didn't need to. The courthouse once represented pain. It once represented betrayal. It once represented the worst period of my life. Now it represented something else. Truth, growth, freedom. As I stood there, I finally understood something that had taken me far too long to learn. Justice was never about destroying Olivia and Daniel. It was about reclaiming myself. And at last I had.